Hello and welcome back to the Brompton Guy. In today's episode, we're going to address your comfort while riding a Brompton. As many know on the channel already, the Brompton comes with one main form of shock absorption, and that is through the rubber suspension block located on the rear triangle. However, with the update in technology in the cycling industry, I'm here to test out a 3D printed saddle with adaptive technology. Can this technology actually improve our overall comfort on the bike? And is it worth sinking over £300 to get that comfort? If you stay tuned, I'm going to give you my thoughts on what I have found with the Selle San Marco saddle. So let's get straight into it and cue the intro.
He's the Brompton Guy!
Comfort on your Brompton. Riding any bike, it is very crucial that it is comfortable and well fitted. If you are doing short commute to works, it's not going to be that noticeable, but as soon as you start going over the hour mark on your bike, you're certainly going to feel it in your legs or your butt if something is wrong on the bike. I do want to be clear at the very start, while this video is going to be aimed at saddles and talking about saddles, by no means can I give you a strict recommendation that this saddle is going to be right for you. As someone that's tested at least 5 to 6 saddles, I can certainly say that there is no obvious science behind it. For anyone caring at the start of this video, my tailbone measurement is 134mm, and I personally find it very uncomfortable to ride saddles that are under about 145. Can I ride them? Yes, I absolutely can, and if you went by the science and the calculators, I should be riding them. But a saddle of 150 is what I personally find more comfortable for my tailbones to sit on. So I want to make that clear that saddles, as you probably already know, are unique, and I can't tell you which one is right for you. All I can recommend is you always go with a reputable source that you know you can try the saddle and return the saddle if it's not right for you. Now, you may have to sink a lot of money in to do that, but unfortunately that is probably the easiest way to do it, because it is actually getting harder and harder to be able to go to a bike shop and get to try saddles of the sample ones out there, especially with how suffering the bike industry and retail is over the last couple of years. But I wanted to make that clear at the very start of this video. But now let's dive in to the Brompton saddle. So with the P-line itself, it comes with the P-line lighter weight saddle, so it is different than the saddle that you get with the C-line, and weighs significantly less than the saddle, well, maybe not significantly, weighs less than the saddle of the C-line, and I actually personally found this as a pretty comfortable saddle. I really did enjoy it, and I think as a standard saddle, it's a pretty good starting point, and with the rubberized grip for carrying it, it is very well designed for the bike it was designed for. That being said, before I ever had a Brompton saddle, I would always get on way better with saddles with cutouts. And while this has a very vague cutout, it doesn't quite relieve the pressure that I would hope for over long rides. This was evident to me over my bike packing trips when I was doing 100-mile rides on the trips. Now, I'm not going to say it's supposed to feel super comfortable under there, but not having that pressure relief really affects me, which is what initially got me looking into different technologies. So that brings into the Selle San Marco Shortfit 2.0 3D printed. The saddle itself is 3D printed, not the entire thing, but simply the cushioning on the saddle itself. The 3D printed cover has a dedicated and proprietary pattern featuring differentiated cushioning zones that provide progressive absorption over the entire surface of the saddle, ensuring the cyclist optimum comfort and support while riding. The shell itself is carbon fibre reinforced, but not entirely carbon fibre. It's high performance nylon enhanced with carbon fibres built with variable thicknesses to reinforce the ribs and bridges across the saddle, which enhance the rigidity with the ergonomic and durability characteristics without affecting the weight of the shell. The rails themselves are made from stainless steel but are hollowed out, which helps to be weather resistant, tough and keep the weight down. Selle San Marco say about the saddle that it's made with the proprietary 3D printed pattern The Shortfit 2.0 3D racing saddle provides support on the toughest road rides, helping you conquer the steepest of climbs and fastest descents. The differentiated cushioning zones give progressive absorption, and the rails provide strength and ensure comfort on every pedal stroke. This high-tech, road-specific saddle with carbon DLS technology is one of the most advanced on the market and is the perfect way to finish your dream build. Now that is a lot of words to throw at you for a saddle, and what does that all mean? So let me break it down to layman terms of what I understand about it. The first thing that I'll address is the term short fit. What that simply means is the saddle isn't as long as your standard Brompton saddle. It's got a shorter nose to allow road races and people competing to get in a more aerodynamic position. While I'm not too worried about that on the Brompton, I actually prefer the shorter fit saddle anyway, because I do look at the other one and I'm like, why does it get such a long nose? But from a Brompton point, having a saddle like this does make it that little bit less convenient to carry because it doesn't have the rubberized grip, and the short nose makes you less to grip on. Now it doesn't really affect me because I have the stunning roller rack, and with the new wheels it goes like butter. But let me show you the length difference you would see on that. So with the original saddle, you can see there, that's about right, of the different length that you get from the short fit itself. Now I wouldn't really say that's going to affect many people, but I wanted to address what the short fit means itself. This saddle does come in full carbon fibre, but when we talked about the carbon fibre reinforced, they're just trying to make it sound fancy. Essentially, it's got a very similar shell to what the Brompton one does. It's nylon, but reinforced and lightweight carbon fibres have been put in to try and take the weight out in specific areas of the saddle itself. So the shell itself, for such an expensive saddle, doesn't really do too much difference than what the Brompton one does. The rails themselves, also pretty standard, hollowed stainless steel. It's not going to make a big difference on the ride, but they're not the parts that I was focusing on. As some of you out there who may know that follow the bike industry, 3D printed saddles have came in for a good while now, but the price point is ridiculous. This saddle here will set you back £329 to get the 3D printed. To get a non-3D printed version, significantly cheaper for essentially the exact same saddle. So what about the 3D printing and the adaptiveness on the road makes it a consideration to make the Brompton more comfortable? Well, as they highlighted, the zones themselves, I mean, I've ridden this saddle now for over a month and a half. I took it on the Dragon ride, but I wanted to get a good feel for it before I'd give you the review itself. Now, the nice thing about this and the way they say it's built up, because it's 3D printed, they can put specific cushioning in specific areas of where you actually need it most. So for instance, if I squeeze here, it's very, very bouncy and nice, but as I get into where I would less need it, it's really stiff and rigid, which doesn't bother me at all and actually works to your favour. So what that means, with every stroke you're pressing down, because it's cushioned and not the same way as a foam, it kind of works and contours to your butt significantly better than a standard saddle. Now, would I say it's £329 worth of adaptiveness? Probably not. Would I say I'm more comfortable on this than the saddle that came as standard in the Brompton, and perhaps any other saddle I've had? I do think there's enough there to say there's a difference, but I still don't think I could recommend you buy this to get comfort on it. Now, some people are going to also like or hate the look. I personally quite like the look, and so far it's not got dirty at all. The things that I do also like on here is the massive cutout that it's got that you would have seen on the close-up there. The cutout itself relieves so much pressure for me, and it's one of the biggest cutouts that I've ever had on a saddle before. This was evident to me straight away. But one of the things that does particularly happen with this is because it's grippier than your traditional saddle material, because it's almost like, I don't want to say it feels like rubber, it's not, but it's super grippy. It's not like leather where you kind of slide around a little bit. If you come down from a climb and sit on it, you do have a tendency to maybe sit in the wrong position. So sometimes you might have to tweak your tailbone slightly to make sure you get them correctly. With this saddle itself also, I did buy both of them So what I mean by that is they have a 140 and a 150 version saddle. And as I said at the start, my tailbone's a 134, which meant everything was recommending the 140 for me. However, I got the 140 and I'd almost say my tailbones were sitting off, well, what felt like my tailbones were right on the edge of sitting off the saddle. I then tried the 150 and it was instantly better for me straight off the bat. You could also see, unfortunately, the one's been returned now. It is significantly wider, but it's hard to even see the difference on the website itself. And one of the advantages I found for this, for my style of riding, is it's got a very pronounced back here. So the back itself is significantly raised, which for me actually helps me sit better and more correct on the bike. The one thing I will say about the shape and what actually is maybe unique to Brompton in it is obviously, as people that take our seat post down all the time, if you get it slightly wrong when you put it back in, I mean, you're never going to get it that wrong, you would know, is that you can actually feel it more than maybe if it was the other saddle, because I think with the size of the cutout, I'd be more obvious when something's getting caught in it. Now overall, I'm happy about the saddle. I'm not happy about the price, but I've went enough that I've kept it. But it doesn't also weigh, it also doesn't really win any weight awards. It's not going to strip too much weight down from the bike, and if you were looking for a saddle just for extremely lightweight, this isn't going to be the one. Now, as I said at the start, saddles are so unique to everyone, and this video isn't here to say, go buy this saddle. This video is only to say, if you buy a 3D printed saddle, is it going to make a world of difference to your riding? And to be honest, for me, it's not made a world of difference. I probably could have got this saddle in the non-3D printed and enjoyed it just as much, because what I'm mainly benefiting from is actually the shape and the cutout on this saddle. Now that being said, I suppose in order to do it real fair justice, I would kind of have to buy this saddle in non-3D printed also, which I'm flat out not going to do because I've already invested in this, and I have no doubt that it would be ever so slightly less comfortable, because I do actually believe the adaptive technology does do well, and over the rides I've done from it, I've not got anything to complain about. You know, I mean, I think that would be the main teller. But am I still on the bike and do I still have sores after riding significant distance? Of course. Like everyone says, they're not armchairs, they're saddles. You can only wear the right bib shorts if you're doing that type of distance to give yourself the best chance of luck. Would I recommend you go spend the money on it? Probably not. If you consider the overall price of a Brompton, that's a significant hit to do. But if you are wanting to get your Brompton, I guess, to look cool or have all the latest features, it is going to help in that side, but still probably a little bit of a novelty. And the Brompton saddle that comes standard with it is actually really, really good. But on the talk of saddles, I am very excited to announce that I do have a Schmolke ultra lightweight saddle coming, which weighs significantly less than even the Brompton carbon saddle, and actually significantly less than this. So obviously made for much more race and performance, but I am looking forward to put that through its paces, because it's technically at the same price point as the adaptive 3D printed, but that video will be coming up shortly. Now, I hope that's gave you some knowledge into Brompton's comfort and if a saddle can actually make significantly difference to your comfort on the bike. If you do have any further questions with regards to saddles, choices, anything personal you want to ask about it, please feel free to leave that in the comment section below. And I will have, coming up this Friday, I'll be going on a bike packing adventure, so that video will be up shortly after that. But as always, thank you so much for your continued support on this channel, and all the subs I've been getting recently have been absolutely amazing and welcome. So thank you so much for your input. This community is beyond amazing, and I'll see you on the next one. Good night.
He's the Brompton.